Are you familiar with Twitter chats? I mean, they've been around for a long time, but are they effective or is it just a waste of your time? Plus, we'd love to hear from you. Have you ever been involved in or participated in a Twitter chat? We're going to dig into the science of Twitter chats today. Stay tuned. It's Social Media Lab Live.
Are you ready to use science to bust some myths in the social media ecosystem?
Great Scott!
Welcome to the Social Media Lab Live, brought to you by Agorapulse, where our social media scientists experiment on real accounts to crack the code on social media success for your business.
Type 5 to subscribe to the show.
Join us live every Thursday at 9 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Facebook and YouTube. Now your hosts, Owen Video and Scott Ayers.
Hey, welcome back to Social Media Lab Live, where we're cracking the code to find out what's working and what's not working in social media. I'm Owen Video, and I'm here with the content scientist, Scott Ayers, and we're live on Facebook and YouTube every Thursday at 9 a.m., and you can give me 5. That's right. Type 5 into the comment section now if you're watching on Facebook. That will subscribe you to the show. And if you're watching on our YouTube channel, just click that big old subscribe button. Ladies and gentlemen, please like bomb my co-host today. He's a content scientist, the social media expert, Mr. Scott Ayers. Scott Ayers, welcome to the show.
Ah, there it is. Music's back. Hey, what's going on, Owen?
Back.
What's going on?
Oh, it's funky. That DJ must have passed out for a minute there, and
Yeah.
it's good.
Late night.
Yeah, it's a late night. It's a good thing we didn't practice before the show because we had it. It was perfect in practice, but it's all right. It's all right. Scott, great to have you here today, man. How is the weather in Waco?
I woke up and it was like 70, and I drove an hour to my office, and it's like 45. So like the temperature's dropped, and it's cold. So the lab and the wig, I may actually have to leave the office in it today to stay a little warm on my drive home.
Are you driving like uphill? Great. You're like, your office is at the top of the summit?
Must be. Yeah, it's like Mount St. Helen or something. Yeah.
Amazing cellular service, but right. Cold. It's a rough road.
It's Texas weather. Texas weather is bipolar, so
you know what I heard
changes every day.
I heard that. See, in California, it's very rainy right now, and it's very cold. In fact, I bought gloves for the studio. For Jason and for Melissa working behind the scenes in the studio. I myself there's a blanket on my legs like my grandmother, and I get it, Grandma. I totally get why you do this now. You know what I mean? But when it rains, it rains for like it'll rain for like a week, 2 weeks. But I hear in Texas it'll rain for 10 minutes and then the sun comes out. Is that true?
Yeah, it'll be 40 today, then like 80, within an hour. Mike Alton says, "Oh, it's so cold in California. He's so sad for you." He's in Ohio, like with like 3 feet of snow or something.
Oh, so my goodness gracious!
He's not feeling sorry for you at all.
Dustin Stout, I know, is in California as well,
or Missouri. Maybe he's in Missouri.
Missouri also sounds freezing cold. Good to see you, Dustin Stout. Good to see you, Naomi, Stephen B. O'Sullivan, Jason Shea. I love to see Jason Shea. Jason Shea is a client of mine, actually, believe it or not. He's in one of my courses. And I was in Seattle speaking at a conference, and he came out and had lunch with me. So that's always nice. It's always nice to kind of like you meet these people and they log into your show. And we have a great show today, folks. We're going to be talking about Twitter chats, and we're really digging into the science of Twitter chats. And if you want to learn more about social media and what's working and what's not working, what's just kind of like the social media legend, the urban legend, then type 5 into the comment section now. If you're watching on Facebook, that will subscribe you to the show. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and you'll get alerts every week that we go live. And we would love to have you. Our question of the day for you folks watching, we'd love to hear from you in the comment section, is: have you ever participated in a Twitter chat? Have you ever been part of a Twitter chat? We would love to hear. From you in the comment section. So let us know, Scott. What exactly is a Twitter chat exactly?
Yeah, and while you're saying yes or no to the Twitter chats, put in the hashtag of the Twitter chat. I did the hashtag thing like I'm Jimmy Kimmel or whoever it was.
That was so 2 years ago.
Justin
That's
Timberlake.
amazing.
Justin Timberlake. That's what it was. And I do that now automatically when I'm talking. I'm old.
Way to take us back in time.
Right.
Sweet
So yeah, if you
flip
are
phone.
commenting, actually put in the hashtag of the Twitter chat that you're using. I'd love to go check it out. But yeah, basically Twitter chats, they've been around for, ages, and basically they're a way, in a sense, if you think about it, it's kind of the first live streaming there was on social media, but with just text. So someone will come on, they'll host it. Let's say like Madeline Sklar is the big time Twitter chat person. She has her chat called Twitter Smarter, which I think happens in like an hour.
Yeah.
And so you'll use the hashtag Twitter Smarter. She'll have a guest on. She'll ask them questions and they'll answer it. Kind of this whole answer one, question one sort of format. And then everybody who's involved with that chat will reply using that same hashtag, whatever that hashtag might be. And so the cool thing is, and we can get into all the different tools and stuff you can use, but you can follow along with that conversation real easy by following that hashtag.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to get knowledge about different things. Like I've followed some just on running or education. They're not all just social media stuff. But you kind of get, if you build a community around them, is what ends up happening if you do a Twitter chat, correctly anyway. I know with Madeline's Twitter Smarter, I mean, it's the hardest chat to keep up with. I mean, there's so many people on it, so much stuff coming through, but they know each other. They get together every week at, noon Texas time and, and start talking about different things in the social media sphere. And they all know each other. I know Gene, he's always on there on the Twitter Smarter. And so it's a really cool way just to kind of be around a live experience on Twitter without having to put your face in a camera or put on pants. And so that's a big plus.
Yeah, I know that when it comes to pant wearing, Scott, you have a lot of really strong feelings, and I applaud that. I actually applaud that in you. We've got some great comments coming in from our watchers out there on Facebook and on YouTube. Mike Alton, by the way, who does a lot of work behind the scenes for Agora Pulse, is heckling me on YouTube. So thank you. Thank you, Mike Alton, for taking my man card. Sarah Hecker is saying hashtag Greenville SEO, and I would assume that means Greenville, South Carolina, or maybe somewhere else. Do we have comments, Jason? Can we get these comments on the screen? She's saying Greenville SEO is a Twitter chat that she participates in, is what I'm guessing. Mike Alton is saying I hop into blog chat on Sunday evenings if I'm free. Naomi Nakashima is saying hashtag gold chat. Okay, is another Twitter chat that she participates in. Dustin Stout is saying I've participated. Oop, it just went away. I've participated, hosted, guest starred in so many Twitter chats. It's ridiculous. Okay, so this is what I sort of want to get into today, is talking about what are Twitter chats and what they look like and how you can really take advantage of them. What's interesting, Scott, is this is all happening in Twitter. So this is sort of a back and forth happening on Twitter. There's no video, and there's really no organization to it either, right? Well, maybe but it's really a cluster of questions and answers, and it's all just kind of happening so fast. Walk us through a little bit about, we'll get into the details of a Twitter chat, but walk us through, like, with that type of environment, why would anybody want to do it? What would be the value in doing a Twitter chat?
Well, there's a couple, and I think the biggest one, at least for me, and I wish Madeline was on so we could kind of get her. Maybe she'll be on here in a little bit. For me, the whole idea is
Madeline just wrote and said that she's going to be on in just a heartbeat. Maybe I shouldn't have interrupted the show for that.
Sweet.
But let me say that so that we can get the audio clip. So, Scott, we've seen Twitter chats for some time. There's a lot of cluster. There's a lot of confusion. It's very, very fast paced. So why would someone do a Twitter chat? What's the value in a Twitter chat?
Well, the value to me is for one, it's brand awareness. You're going to have a tweet, a hashtag around your brand, specific to your brand, and it kind of gets you out there in front of a lot of people really quickly. Especially, let's say you've got 100 people on your Twitter chat, and they each have, this being minimum, let's say they got 1,000 followers, and your reach just expanded, in a massive, massive way.
Right.
And so that's really where I see the value in it. It's just getting other people to start talking about you and your product. And then someone like Madeline, who's taken Twitter Smart and turned it into a website. She's turning it into training. I mean, she's able to take that Twitter chat outside of Twitter she does Facebook Lives after her Twitter show with her guest.
Yeah.
And so there's so much exposure I think you can get on it. And I like being guest on them. I know we mentioned Dustin had been ridiculously on a lot of Twitter chats. I was a guest on a couple of them, and I got a lot of followers from that. People just saw me. I was active in there as a guest. And so I think if you can get on Twitter chats as a guest, there's a lot of value in that because you're going to get a lot more followers from it. And then just being active in them, people are going to start to know who you are and recognize you as maybe a thought leader in that space, whatever that space might be. And then there's probably ROI. I know Dustin asked a question yesterday as we posted the link to it, like what's the ROI of Twitter chats? That's a little bit harder at times, I think, to always figure out is I spent all this time and energy. I spent this hour and a half, whatever it was. How can I equate that to dollars? You're going to have a hard time probably doing that. And I think most people realize that who really dive into it. But I think you got to look down the road. How have you grown after you started a Twitter chat over a period of, let's say, 3 months? You kind of look at it and see, okay, I've grown my Twitter following by 15, 20%. Then this was well worth it because now those followers are people you can advertise to. I can send out my links, my blogs, my products. And so I think there's a lot to it. I think a lot of people are short-sighted sometimes that they want immediate results with it. And so they get overwhelmed with the whole idea. And then sometimes some people start Twitter chats and they can't stick to doing them every week. Just like we're doing a live show every week, something's going to come up and sometimes you're going to miss a week. And so you got to be prepared for that. What's going to happen when you take a week off and your impressions are down? Will people remember to come back next week?
Yeah.
And be engaged with your Twitter chat. So there's kind of a lot to that whole, onion that is a Twitter chat.
There is a lot to it, and we'd love to hear from you folks in the audience watching us live on Facebook or YouTube. Have you ever participated in a Twitter chat? What was your experience with it? We had a great comment a second ago. Madeline Sklar is logging in. Great to see you in the comment section. Jacob Harrison is saying, and that's why I threw my computer away. And I remember that's how I felt the very first Twitter chat that I got into. And I've done a few in my lifetime. I actually really like them, even though I'm not a Twitter guy. In fact, it's probably the only thing I like about Twitter is I love getting on there and participating in these chats because you get like this real engagement with people on a similar topic. So I really enjoyed them, but I want to hear from you folks in the audience. What has been your experience and would you use them for business? Scott, is Twitter a platform that is active and vibrant? I mean, outside of Twitter chats, is there a reason? You talked about growing your following. Is that an important thing to do in 2019?
Wow, that's a loaded question. I think it depends on your brand. I mean, there's some brands that don't need to be there. I mean, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
You're talking about maybe pulling away from Twitter a little bit for your personal stuff because you're just not getting the activity. Maybe it's not where you're best suited. I had a little bounce house business. Twitter sucked for it. I mean, it was awful because nobody was using it that were my clients, and so it didn't matter for me to be on it. Now, if your potential client base is there, then you should go for it. Like I'm officing in a space where there's a guy next door to me who recruits like superintendents and project managers in the construction industry. He's asked me all the time, hey, should I be on Twitter or whatever? I'm like, no, because it's a horrible industry for you.
Yeah.
You're a LinkedIn guy. And so you got to be where your market is. And if Twitter chats, if you can get activity on it and your followers are there, and I think it's a smart place to leverage, even in 2019.
If you have, let me say it again without a frog jumping out of my, if you have, it always reminds me of that episode of Brady Bunch. When Bobby lost his voice. I don't know. Did you guys see that episode? Yes or no? In the comment section, Bobby loses his voice and they end up singing and he's like, sha-na-na, and they made it work. Beautiful episode. I love television. Okay, so let me start that again. If you have questions on Twitter or using Twitter chats, ask your questions in the comment section. We're going to be digging into this topic very, very deeply today. We've got a very special guest, and I'm excited to share this experience with you because mastering social media is super important for you, for your clients, and for your future. Before we get into the science of Twitter chats today, I want to just take a moment and talk about Andrea Vahl, okay? Because Andrea Vahl is a Facebook ads expert managing a team, and she struggles really to bring all of the components of her social media together. You've experienced this, Scott, where it's like you got to manage comments. It's like, how do you post every day? How do we schedule posts? And there's a lot that's going on. She provided us with a great tip on how she manages her social media. Let's see what Andrea Vahl has to say.
I'm Andrea Vahl, and I'm the co-author of Facebook Marketing All-in-One for Dummies. I also run Facebook ads for clients, and I do a lot of speaking about Facebook advertising, and especially now that the things are changing on Facebook. So one of the biggest benefits I have found with Agorapulse is that inbox, where it brings everything in to one location. I just love it because I don't even remember where I see a comment a lot of times, because there's the LinkedIn direct messaging, there's LinkedIn comments, I'm running Facebook ads that have comments on them that aren't showing on my page, and then page comments and inbox on it's just everywhere. There's so many inboxes that it makes me crazy. So having the one streamlined inbox where I can knock off the messages and make sure I get back to people who are potentially going to hire me is crucial, because you don't want to wait to
Did we want to stop it there?
Good for business. Agorapulse saves me a ton of time. And one of the ways it saves me time is that I'm able to upload a whole bunch of tweets or a whole bunch of posts at once, and I can have different campaigns so that I'm turning campaigns on and off, because some of my products are only launching at certain times. And so I'll turn the campaign on during that time, have those tweets and promotional posts run, and then turn it off. So it saves a lot of time, and I'm able to reuse stuff and then just bring it back up, maybe refresh the content a little bit and set it off running. But it also saves me a ton of time just in the fact that I don't have to check every single site on, open every single window. I can just bring it all into one.
Andrea Vahl, always great to hear from you. And we want to give a big shout out to our sponsors over at agorapulse.com. Go to agorapulse.com. Start managing your social media more effectively today. Welcome back to the show. I think I just swallowed a bug. Welcome back to the show. If you're just logging in, you're watching the Social Media Lab Live. I'm Owen Video, and I'm here with Scott Ayers, the content scientist, and we're helping you uncover what's working and what's not working in social media for your business. Today, we're talking about Twitter chats, and we're hoping to bring on a guest. We had a guest log in. We're having some tech problems bringing her in, but we're hoping that Madeline Sklar can join us today on the show. We know that she's in the comment section right now, so if you've got questions on using Twitter chats, ask in the comment section, and maybe we'll even get like a Twitter chat thing happening in the comment section. That would be kind of neat, kind of a new thing. So Scott, you had done an in-depth research examining what Twitter chats, the value and what they really can do. Before we get into some of those details, I'd love to talk a little bit about the ins and outs of how a Twitter chat actually works, right? You mentioned tools earlier. What are some of the tools that a person needs to effectively run a Twitter chat? I mean, are we doing that? Are we logging in from the Twitter app? Like, how do you stay in control of all that nonsense?
We need really fast fingers first. But yeah, you could do it actually on Twitter if you wanted to go to the website Twitter or on your phone and just look for the hashtag and search that way. But you're going to have to constantly update that search to see it. So what I recommend using is a site called TweetChat. That's probably the most popular one. Yeah. It's tweetchat.com. And there's also one called tchat.io. It works okay. TweetChat's kind of the most popular one because what it does is you put in the hashtag, and then everything that comes in is only going to be on that hashtag, and you can even pause it. You can reply inside their website, and it automatically puts in the hashtag. I don't think they've updated the site to include 280 characters yet. It's still stuck at the at the 140, so you kind of have to remember that. But you kind of those tools help you, because otherwise, especially on a chat like Twitter Smarter, that is just so crazy fast, you're going to miss it if you try to look on Twitter itself, even on the desktop, because you're all of a sudden you're going to see 97 more results, and you're going to have to refresh, and you've missed everything. So the tweet chat helps, and also what it does too, because these tweet chats, the way they're kind of set up is most people do 7 to 10 questions. And they'll ask that question of, say, a guest. So let's say you're a guest on my Twitter chat.
Right.
I would ask you, in question, Q1, why be on live video? And then you would answer A1, because blah, blah, blah. And then everybody else would kind of do the same, who's involved in the chat. A1 this, A1 that.
Right.
And then answers question 2, answer 2. So it kind of goes in that sort of flow. Typically, you'll ask those a new question like every 5 to 7 minutes, depending on your Twitter chat, just to kind of keep the flow going and keep that conversation going. So that's kind of the basics of it. I think it's real important to have good images, to kind of have good branding with it, to kind of get started.
That's
and then just use that sort of format. I know the ones I've been on have really good images they use outside of the Twitter chat to promote it. I've always really, been impressed by that when they put the guest's face,
like driving
on the promotional image,
to drive people to the Twitter chat to remind them to sort of log in. So we've got a guest in the audience, or we've got Madeline Sklar was able to join us today. We finally got her logged in. I'm super excited that she's here. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to Madeline Sklar. She's a Twitter expert. She's the host of the Twitter chat, Twitter Smarter, I believe is what it's, hashtag Twitter Smarter. And she does a fantastic job. Definitely a leader in the space. Madeline, so glad to have you here. Thanks for fighting through the tech and joining us today.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for being patient with me as I made my way in.
No, I love the mic flag too. You've got the Twitter Smarter mic flag, and you got it in the background there. It's actually your set is a little bit different from when I last saw you on video. So it's great to have you here. You had told us off screen that I think it was Tweet Chat. I get so confused, guys, on my Twitter. It's not Tweet Chat that is the preferred tool now. It's a new tool, correct? That you want to go to manage.
Yeah, tweetchat.com doesn't work anymore. I don't know what's happened, but if you go to the site, it's there. I know, Scott. Yeah, I'm so disappointed because I've been using that for probably 5 or 6 years now, and used to a certain tool. So many people I know use TweetDeck, and I'm like, oh, I don't know about TweetDeck. I like my TweetChat. But yeah, if you go to tweetchat.com, it's there. And you log in and nothing works. It just sits.
It just sits there. I experienced that. Yeah. I was a guest on the SME chat last week, and I'm sitting there logging in. I'm like, I told Eric Fisher, I said, nobody's here, man. Where are you?
Man.
So it was kind of like this episode right now. It's like they're sitting there kind of like stalling, waiting for me to get on there. And I used TweetDeck. But you're right. It was kind of like it reminded me of a Hootsuite platform. It's like I had these different aisles and I could manage it here, but I couldn't necessarily respond here. So what is the tool when you're going to go attend a Twitter chat? Where do you go first to log into that chat, Madeline Sklar?
Well, okay, so TweetDeck, I think, is going to be one that more and more people are going to utilize because it is easy to have the columns. You can customize it so that you can have a column, to keep tabs on who's mentioning you, keep tabs on the hashtag, and important, keep tabs on the host. If you're the guest, you want to know when the host is tweeting and what they're tweeting. And even if you're just a participant, it's always good to be following the host and the guest. Makes it a lot easier. Now, there is a website called tchat.io. So the letter T, chat.io. It's been around for a long time. That was always my backup
way too much going on. I can hear you clicking over there.
Oh, we back?
I don't think we're live yet. I think we have to press live.
At least it wasn't me.
You're in a great place. All you got to do is log in. You know what I mean? Like,
right. That stinks.
No, I think because the stream keys are already connected. So if we go live, we should just go.
Oh,
right
Dustin
back.
says the audio is live, so I think Dustin
Hey guys.
can hear us.
Hey everybody. Welcome back to Social Media Lab Live. Experiencing some technical difficulties thanks to the cold weather out in Ohio. Apparently, a gentleman named Mike Alton cut the cables of the local internet providers, which is how we were able to stream this show. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that Mike has decided to take action against our show, but we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going strong. If you're just joining us, we're talking about Twitter chats, and we're really digging into the science of Twitter chats. Our guest today is Madeline Sklar, and she's just joined us. We're hoping to get her reconnected very, very soon here, and we're learning about some new tools. The newest tool that Madeline had just talked about was called tchat.io, tchat.io. And if you guys have a chat, I would put that link in the comment section. I really love the interface on this, and if we can show that on the screen at some point, that would be really cool. But this interface is really great. So when you go into a Twitter chat, you log onto a place like tchat.io, and you'd enter in the hashtag of your Twitter chat. Now, Scott, tell us about the role the hashtag plays in a Twitter chat.
That's basically how you keep up with the conversation. So everybody will tweet that, whatever that hashtag is. That's going to keep the conversation kind of all together. That also lets you know when questions are coming in or answers are coming into those questions. So it's just a conversation, connector, if you will. But also for people searching later on, if they search later on for, say, Twitter Smarter, they're going to find all of that. After the actual hour-long chat is over, it's available there on search on Twitter.
Oh, yeah,
and
so you can go back to it.
I'm glad she hopped on and told us that tweet chat was gone, because I've used that, and I used it the other. You were talking about it froze on you. I used it the other day and thought, well, I guess they canceled their Twitter chat. I didn't know tweet chat quit working, so I just thought it was just something that happened to me. So I'm glad she popped on for the moment and clarified that for us, because I didn't know that either.
Fantastic. Madeline, it was the best 45 seconds on Twitter chats I'd ever seen. Really, really fantastic. So you go and you enter it in. Can we show it on the screen, Jason? What's that? Let's try it. Let's just so people can kind of see what we're looking at here. So you would go into this and you would enter in the hashtag. So enter in hashtag, let's just say Twitter Smarter. You would enter that hashtag on the screen there. And then you would see the thread of the Twitter page, and it looks like that screen may not be popping up. And you enter into the very last episode of the thread that exists, and so you can go back, you can read other people's comments, and really get a sense of what's going on and I actually do with Twitter chat, and I'll come back to the chat. Or a week later, I'll still get responses and retweets and these kinds of things. So it really does. I feel it increases my reach. But is that something I'm feeling, or is that something real? That's a question that you asked at the Social Media Lab, and we got into some really nitty gritty stats that I think you guys are going to be very interested in terms of how effective Twitter chats can be. So I'm posting that link in the comments section right now, and Madeline actually has her own link in that section that says she just released a brand new article today, so you guys can follow those. Scott, what is it? What was your hypothesis here? You went out to study Twitter chats. What was your hypothesis? What was it that you went out to study?
Yeah, basically what we thought was conducting a Twitter chat will increase your reach, your impressions, and especially compared to the non-Twitter chat days. So that was our original hypothesis, of doing this is going to increase our reach and impressions. And kind of how we did it is I looked at 9 different Twitter chats, most of them being in social media, like Twitter Smarter, content writing chat, content chat. We even looked at our friends over at Buffer and Sprout Social had
Yeah.
a Twitter chat at the time. They've actually paused them now. Buffer Chat and Sprout Chat. Social ROI, who was hosted by Managed Flitter, which will be interesting to see if they continue because their problems they're having right now. And then we looked at like Alabama Education Chat and Run Chat and an educational called Ed Tech Chat. So we just kind of monitor them. There was not a whole lot we had to do to be engaged with them. We just wanted to monitor those chats. And I used a site called Social Alert. It's Social Alert. It's kind of a weird name.
But the AL all kind of combined there. Is that what it is?
Yeah, they're being. I'll put the link in the comments. They're kind of being, funny with their name.
Like the Oneaters. remember the Oneaters from that thing you do, right? There was the Wonders, and he's like, Oneaters, get rid of it. It makes no sense. Yeah.
But basically what this site lets you do is you put in a search. So, we put in a hashtag, and then it starts pulling in all the data from that hashtag once you enter it in. And we were able to look over a period of, I think, 60 days or so. We looked at all these different Twitter chats to kind of see what the impressions were, what kind of reach they had, what the engagement level has. And then I was engaged with a lot of them too on the Agora Pulse account to kind of see if that helped our account at all. So that we kind of let that sit and looked at it over a 4 to 6 week period. And it was pretty, if you go to the link, I think we posted in the comments, the data they put out is pretty interesting. And it was eye-opening to me, to say the least, to look at the data. So we want to hop into the data real quick.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And if we can get those images loaded up, let's start with your hypothesis. Scott, you're a social media content scientist. You're actually doing things in a scientific way, and that starts with a hypothesis. So what was your hypothesis for this particular experiment?
The hypothesis was conducting a Twitter chat will increase reach and impressions, especially compared to non-chat days. So that was kind of our best guess at what was going to happen. And then when we looked at the data, and we'll get right to kind of the meat of the data, we averaged the 9 Twitter chats together because that was the best way for us to look at. If I just looked at one Twitter chat, it may have just been really popular, and the rest of them, sucked. And so we kind of took all 9 of them together. We looked at it. There was actually a little over 6,900 posts made by these Twitter chats during that time period. Over 1,300 users. The reach, and this is where it got kind of crazy to me. The reach of those Twitter chats altogether averaged, it was 7.27 million the reach. The impressions were over 68 million. So a massive amount of impressions, a massive amount of people that were reached. Now, a big chunk of that was Twitter Smarter. I mean, we admit that. They were like 25 million of that.
Wow.
68 million because they are. Twitter Smarter is so popular.
Wow, that's great.
And so massive amount of reach, massive amount of impressions, which kind of, for me, I mean, if you dig through it and kind of look at even the smaller ones, I mean, let's say I'll look at Buffer's, chat, for example. They have about an average about 190 users on their chat.
Okay. And
reach like 1.2 million with about 30 million impressions. That's pretty sweet for something that's really just free other than your time.
Yeah.
To hop in, because these aren't ads, these aren't anything like that. And there's links throughout those Twitter chats. I mean, people are blasting links and, hey, here's a resource to that, a resource to this. So you're also probably driving traffic. We couldn't measure this, obviously, because it wasn't our own Twitter chats. But there's a lot to those impressions that I think you can't ignore as a business that we found from all of these chats.
What time frame is that? You say they had 190 users. Is that within a half hour, within 60 minutes? Is it all day?
They're typically, I think it looks, you'll notice on the stats that on the blog post, it peaks. Like you can tell when that hour was going on. And then after that hour was over, there's not a whole lot that most do with the Twitter chats other than like, hey, join us Thursday for Twitter Smarter. Right. You don't see a lot of it after the fact. Madeline probably is the best at it. She does use that hashtag throughout the whole week because that's, she's the best at it, and she does Twitter Smarter.
Brilliant.
And so she really has figured it out.
Her Twitter is like a destination, right? You go to her Twitter to learn more about Twitter. And, oftentimes it's those types of accounts and content creators that really excel in their field, right? Great YouTubers that teach YouTube on YouTube tend to do really well. And you'll see a lot of copycats and kind of like young guys coming up trying to go into that space, right? And Facebook users like Mari Smith, who teaches how to use Facebook, right? Real popular to teach the platform on the platform, and that's something Madeline Sklar does very, very well. Now, Madeline's in the comment section right now. If you have questions for Madeline, ask her in the comment section. We can have like our own little Facebook chat happening right here in the comment section. Is she back on? Is she back on? Great. Let's bring her back on, and let's hope that the world does not end again because there's so much explosive content.
The problem is there's two Texans. There's two Texans.
Oh my goodness, that's all I had to say. There's just not.
She's down the road in Houston. I'm up here in Waco. So,
Madeline, what have we forgot to mention about Twitter chats? What do we need to know to get more people involved in a Twitter chat? And feel free to talk about your upcoming chat as well.
Yeah, I think one of the big things in all of this is consistency. Like, just show up and do it regularly, and you will get so much out of it. So I always tell people, go seek out Twitter chats that resonate with you, with the work you do, with things that excite you. If you are a social media marketer, like I know a lot of you are, chats like mine, Twitter Smarter, where we talk about Twitter tips and things that will help you with Twitter. Or if you know a lot about Twitter, you can come on there and show off your expertise. And then I also host Social ROI for Managed Flitter every Tuesday at 5 o'clock Eastern. Cool. And it is on right now. I don't know if that's going to stay on for long because they are having some issues right now with Twitter API.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard otherwise. So these are chats that are very strong going. Like, we get a lot of people that show up, but we're consistent. We're always promoting it. And that's really important if you're going to host your own chat. You got to keep that hashtag out there, not just 1 hour a week. That's where I see a lot of people fail. They host a chat and 1 hour a week, that's the only time you see the hashtag. You need to use it more than that.
So it's like having a show on Twitter, only on Twitter you don't have shows, right? You have chats. Is that kind of how you're thinking of it? Like a YouTuber would upload a video every week, consistently on time with the same theme and the same message. You want to take that same approach to your Twitter chat?
Absolutely. I mean, the conversation can go past the 1 hour chat. So you just want to be active and out there and connecting with people. So yeah, that's the best way to do it.
I think especially because people are coming in. I just had a retweet today from the SME chat, and that was maybe a week or actually 2 weeks ago. So people are going through these chats and they are searching for keywords. I find that when I'm a guest on a Twitter chat, and for those of you that are on your way to being an influencer, right, I would look to be a guest on as many Twitter chats as you can to grow sort of that base and to use your keywords, use your words, video marketing or social media marketing, Greenville SEO, if that's sort of the case for you. Madeline Sklar, how do we find Twitter chats? What's the deal there?
I wish there was just one big master list, and years ago there was. The problem was it was so hard for them to keep it updated because chats come and go so frequently. So what I did is I took it upon myself to start a list specifically for social media and marketing. So you can access that through my website at madelinesklar.com. You can Google and find chats that way. And many times when you're on a chat, you'll hear about other chats.
Oh, that's
a little
good.
Meta, but it happens that way too.
It is meta. Now, Scott, in your article, you outlined a large amount of social media and otherwise Twitter chats. Is that correct?
Yeah, we kind of put out the main ones that I had been that were active at the time anyway, like the Buffer chat, Sprout chat, Content chat. Those were kind of the big ones, and our Social ROI being one as well. And Madeline mentioned that article. I went through that article to try to find which ones were the most active, and I'd always go to them, and then boom, they're gone, or they were on hiatus, or they only met once a month. So I think that consistency that you mentioned is so crucial with those Twitter chats because, I mean, let's be honest, we kind of have that FOMO mentality these days.
Yeah.
And so if it doesn't happen every week, then you're probably going to forget about it, and you've got something else going on. I would encourage people who are in your Twitter chat to maybe put it on their calendar. Get a reminder. That way they know to hop on and make that, set aside that time, or at least have that ability to hop into tchat.io, and be involved in that chat at the time. So I think that's super important. Madeline, what I would ask you, question wise, and you do this really well, outside of the hour that you mentioned, what are like maybe 2 things someone should do to kind of keep that hashtag going outside of their Twitter chat?
Well, one of the things that I've always done, and actually I did this before I started the chat, that a lot of people think the hashtag was first for the chat. I actually came up with Twitter Smarter and used it for an online training course. And then what I did is every time I came across an article related to Twitter marketing, whether, like some of my articles, like the one I just put out on how to use Twitter chats, I would always put the hashtag at the end. I always put #Twitter Smarter and train people to go to this hashtag when you want to read up about Twitter.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
You can use this. Yeah, you could do this for just about anything, right? So, if you have a hashtag, start telling people, hey, I'm going to share articles related to this. So you could always go and check the hashtag. So it's training people to go to the hashtag. So that's something I've been doing for a really long time. And then utilizing hashtags on other platforms to bring them over to Twitter. So I get on Instagram all the time, and I'll do Instagram stories talking about my upcoming Twitter chats and using the hashtag over there and using it as a way for people to keep seeing it over and over. It's a branding tool, really.
It is.
I mean, I'm just branding a hashtag. Anyone can do this. There is no rule that says you can't own a hashtag.
Right.
But there's no rule that says you can't take it.
Right. There's no registry, right, that you have to go.
Right.
And if you see one, don't give them your money, right? Because
right, like Twubs did this thing for years, and Twubs was just another platform, just like tchat.io or tweetchat.com, where you can use it to participate in a chat. And they did this thing for a couple of years, like come register your hashtag with us, and they made it sound like it was official, but it's not. There's no official place to go register. If you want to make it official, just go promote the heck out of it. Just make it part of your marketing. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Now, coming up with Twitter Smarter, did that hit you at like 2:00 in the morning? Sheer brilliance, you knew it? Or was it like the 15th hashtag that you experimented with over time, knowing that you wanted to pick a good one? How did you kind of come up with that?
So I wanted to pick a good one, and it was my second choice. My first one was Twitter Rockstar, and Twitter Rockstar was kind of cool. The thing is, if you're going to stake claim to a hashtag and really own it, find one that no one else uses or rarely uses. And the thing is about Twitter Rockstar is it was used not all the time, but people were using it like, hey, you're a Twitter Rockstar, high five me.
Yeah.
And I just didn't see that working with what I was trying to do. So I did some more research, came up with Twitter Smarter. No one else was using it. I'm like, okay, this really defines what I'm trying to do. It really says it all. So that really has worked well for me 5 years later since I started using the hashtag. And, again, I used it for an online training course, which I still run today. I have it for my podcast, the Twitter Smarter podcast. And then it was the third thing was the Twitter chat. So
that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I think a lot of people sort of struggle with what they're going to do. And I think that the hashtag that you use says a lot about what the Twitter chat and the content is all about. And Scott, you were analyzing, multiple different Twitter chats, and you saw, some pretty amazing engagement. I know we had started talking about that. Tell us a little bit about the Twitter Smarter, Madeline's Twitter chat. Now, Madeline, when is your next chat, by the way?
Today, in about 15 minutes.
And
Twitter
so
Smarter is all Thursdays.
Right after
this
show, go down to Twitter, or actually you want to go to tchat.io or one of the other tools that we've mentioned. Enter in hashtag Twitter Smarter, and you can follow Madeline's Twitter chat. Here's the problem, guys. It's the elite. It's like this is the best Twitter chat out there. So once you've had a taste of a Sklar chat, you know what I mean? Like you just can't go back. But Scott, talk to us about some of the stats that you picked up from Madeline's show.
That could be a new hashtag, Sklar chat. There you go. Madeline, you owe Owen some money. Owen's going to make you register Sklar chat.
I love it.
So we looked at it, we look at Madeline's chat, and granted, this may have increased since we did this study, but the Twitter Smarter chats averaged 1,245 posts per Twitter chat, 292 users, had a reach of 3.4 million, and had 25 million impressions. That's on average per per chat.
Wow.
And Madeline, I'm sure your stats have kind of gone up since then. So pretty impressive numbers. And that's why if you're going to hop on her chat here in about 15 minutes, be ready, because it's like drinking from a fire hose. And you really can't do anything else. And then I always notice when I'm all of a sudden I'm like, well, this is the last question. Have we already been here an hour? And it's over immediately. You don't realize how fast it flies by. So it's pretty impressive.
So what was your conclusion having run? And I think our audience understands the conclusion, but what was your scientific conclusion about Twitter chats having analyzed all of this data? It's great for that hour, but it doesn't really help the channel grow, or is a Twitter chat the way to grow, or a great way to grow your Twitter influence?
Well, I wouldn't say the way. Obviously, there's lots of ways. I think it's a great way, like you just said. But our conclusion was, running a Twitter chat will result in a high amount of reach, a high amount of impressions, and you should highly consider it for your social strategy to run one, but also to be engaged with one. Like, for example, when I was involved with these Twitter chats, my interactions went up. I think it was like 153% on the Agorapulse account just from being active in a couple of these Twitter chats. And then a lot of those people had never even heard of Agorapulse until I was active in those Twitter chats. And those are our target market.
Right.
And so it was great for me to hop in there. And those people now today, and this was, some of these, it was 6 months ago when I did this, they're still retweeting us and posting our content and are active, I don't know if they're even paid users at this point, but they're just very active in sharing our content on social media. So it's paid a lot of dividends down the road for us. By me being active. I wish we were more active in them today. Just time-wise, we haven't been as much. And so I think that's, if you have a big company and a big account, you probably need to have somebody dedicated to it. I know Madeline uses like a whole team to run her Twitter chats because there's so much involved.
Yeah.
And so I think it's super important as a brand to be out there, especially if you can find those chats that are in your niche. In social media especially, there's lots of them. So find one of those that you can kind of stick out, but don't go on there and be that guy who's like just posting links to your stuff all the time.
Right.
Because nobody wants that over promotional jerk in the middle of a Twitter chat. And so make sure you're actually giving back. You're actually giving answers. You're giving props to even your competitors during the chats. And so I think there's a lot about the community building involved there that you got to really take into consideration. It's not your chance to say, hey, here, come look at me. This is Social Media Lab. Here's my links to my last article. If it's pertinent, sure, share it. But don't feel like that's what you're going to go there and do, and all of a sudden magically get a lot of followers and traffic.
I see a lot of folks that will come on too. I was on a Twitter chat. I was the guest on a Twitter chat, and I was talking about YouTube and video marketing. And what happened, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, Madeline, because what happened was the host would ask a question, Q1, and then I am to answer with A1, right? I put A1. Here's a thing, and A1, here's another thing, and A1, and I might have a couple different answers. But what I noticed, Madeline, was like there was 2 or 3 guests that were answering for me or with me, right? They were putting their answers in. Is that appropriate in a Twitter chat to is it everyone sort of puts their answers in, plus we have a guest, let's hear what he says? Or is this sort of like spammy? Is this kind of like, oh, I wouldn't let that happen? What are your thoughts?
Well, it's very common to, have a guest and put the spotlight on them and have them answer the questions. But if you feel like you have something to contribute, it's always been acceptable on chats to just chime in and share your 2 cents.
Right.
So I've never seen any issues with that. Every chat's different, and if they have specific rules, they'll let you know at the beginning. So I would always keep an eye out for what are the specific rules for this chat. What's always good is to just sometimes go to a chat and just lay low and just pay attention and see how it's run, how do people participate.
That's great.
And if you feel comfortable, then jump right in. But sometimes it's best to just listen a little bit and see what the flow is and how people are interacting.
That's great. And Dustin Stout, who's watching us live on Facebook, and if you're watching us live on Facebook, you want to see more content like this, give me 5. That's right. Type 5 into the comment section now that will subscribe you to the show. Dustin Stout was mentioning how he lurks. He likes to lurk in a lot of different chats and figure out if it's right for him. And I think that's kind of a great way to go about it. Naomi Nakashima is asking, so here's a question. How do you handle overwhelm as a new person or a first-timer in a chat? How can you help a first-timer get over the overwhelm of jumping into your chat? Dustin Stout is saying, I heard my name. So we love that passive viewership, by the way, Stout. Good man. So how do we handle overwhelm? Because the first Twitter chat I was in was like, whoa, I don't know if I ever want to do that again. So how do we get used to that? How do we conquer overwhelm?
Well, first of all, that's a great question. Okay, so here's what I would recommend. If you were going to come on Twitter Smarter, it does move very fast. What I would do is just focus on the host and the guest. Just pay attention to their tweets. Don't worry so much about everyone else's because it's going to be moving so fast.
Good.
But you can just look to see what are their responses and see if there's something you can add to what they're saying. Or maybe you have a question you want to ask on top of what was already asked. And that's okay to do. They may not have time to respond right away. So you might get a response after the chat. That's pretty typical since these chats can move fast. But yeah, sometimes when you're watching the whole thing, if it's moving too fast, you'll be like, whoa, this is too much. And you don't want that to be a deterrent from coming on a popular chat. Just maybe pick a few people you might see, oh, Dustin's here. Let me go open up a tab for his Twitter so I can keep an eye out on just his tweets in addition to the guests and the host.
That's perfect. That makes a lot of sense. Now, is it better, do you think, to tweet out into the Twitter sphere using the Twitter chat hashtag, or should we be replying to other tweets inside the thread, for example, the Q1s and the A1s?
Different ways to do this, and it's best to just experiment to see what works best for you. Easiest thing is just to hit the reply button and reply to a tweet and put the hashtag on the end. When I'm participating in a chat, I like for people to know what the original question was. So I do a retweet with a comment.
Oh, that's good.
So that way, yeah, because one of the things that's frustrating is that I'll be going through my notifications and sometimes there'll be a chat going on and there's a question and I don't know what the question is, but people are tagging me. And it's like, and this was happening this week, actually with Social Media Examiner's chat and a few other chats where people are like doing these shout outs to me. And it's like, awesome, but I don't even know what the question was. And I got to go dig for it, which can be hard to do. So I don't like that personally. So I make sure that when I'm doing tweets like that, I just do the retweet with the comment so that I can put my message above the original tweet. So then when you see it out there, you'll see my response and right underneath, you'll see the original question.
That's great. So do you have any top Twitter chats that you really enjoy?
Gosh, there's so many of them. I do love Social Media Examiner's new chat, SME chat. I think that is really well done. Hootsuite does a great chat. It used to be weekly. Now it's monthly. It's called Hoot Chat. I miss Buffer's chat. Theirs was really good. I really like, and who else? Post Planner. Y'all used to have a chat years ago. Viral Chat, right? Wasn't that Viral Chat?
Viral Chat, yeah. That was Aaron Lee. Aaron Lee, who was watching. Him and Rebecca Radice were the ones who kind of handled that. We've actually joked about restarting Viral Chat, so I just have to find the time to do it. So
it's a great hashtag.
Emmerich to allow me to have the time to do it.
Yeah, it's a great hashtag, and I think that you would easily be able to get right back into that because that was a chat really well done. So yeah, there's so many great chats out there. I always recommend go seek them out, go spend some time, even if it's 1 or 2 a week, you'll get a lot out of it for sure.
Fantastic. Madeline Sklar, you've got your own Twitter chat that you've got to get to right now. Thanks so much for coming on the show, and thanks for hanging out with us with all the tech troubles that we had today. We have packed so much into this show. Literally, the internets are like, it looks like a cartoon when a basketball goes through like the water hose, and comes out on the other side and makes a slam dunk. That's how much energy we're putting through. So guys, go to Twitter right now and use the hashtag TwitterSmarter to find Madeline Sklar's Twitter chat and join the chat. Follow along. She does a fantastic job, has a very well-oiled machine behind that chat. Scott, thanks for being here again today. You're an amazing co-host, and you are doing some real scientific study. Any closing words before we get out of here?
I think, like you just said, just be engaged. Try one out. Maybe do what Dustin does and lurk. for Twitter Smarter today, and then see if it's something you want to do next week.
I love it. Great thinking. Great to have you here. And thanks for watching on Facebook Live and YouTube. You're watching the Social Media Lab Live, and you can join us every single Thursday at 9 a.m. for hot new tips that will show you what's working and what's not working in social media. Plus, you might even see some really major live video things happen. Live bloopers. We'll see you next time, guys, on the Social Media Lab Live.